One comment about who had the better verse turned New York hip-hop into two different camps, and even Camron couldn't ignore it. All right, the 38th specialist Kiss. Let me ask you, I'm sure everybody knows what's going on, like it's heating up, but I'm glad everybody's keeping it music. But let me ask you this, Cam. If somebody did a song with you and said they had a better verse than you, what would have been your reaction?
The scenario for the people that don't know what's going on, because everybody doesn't know what's going on. So maybe in your world, I have a bigger audience.
We talked about it already.
Yeah, but just because who said they seen that episode? Let's fill people in. Gotta fill people in, man. So Jadakiss and 38 Special are going, pardon me, I don't know if it's special, 38 Special are going back and forth about, well, it started with, they was on Benny the Butcher's song together. Benny the Butcher and 38 Special said that 38 Special verse was better than Jada's verse. And Jada had something to say in the comments. There was a little bit going back and forth in the comments. Then Jada and Fat Joe released a new song. And it appears, I don't know this for a fact, it appears, or what people are saying, that it looked like Jada took shots at 38 Special. Do I know this for a fact? I don't know. But I know that, you know, the time of their argument online, it seems like that's what he's doing. You know, you ask Kiss, he may say he's not even talking about him. So I don't want to put that on him until he confirms that's what he's talking about. And with Sin is saying that, you know, it's dope that it's all music. It's not no shit in the street. It's not nobody saying they gonna kill anybody.
This is exactly the kind of rap competition fans have been asking to see more of. There's a common complaint that hip-hop is missing genuine competition these days, but this situation captures exactly what that competition is supposed to look like. Nobody's discussing violence, nobody's bringing up real street conflict. It's purely a debate over bars and skill. What really stands out is how quickly this shifted from being about two individual verses into entire cities aligning behind different sides. That's really the business side of hip-hop at work, because once fans start identifying with a region rather than just an individual artist, engagement naturally skyrockets. People start reposting clips, dropping their own freestyles, and jumping into conversations they weren't originally part of, which ends up functioning as free promotion for everyone involved.
Definitely a big topic about whose bars are better and who raps better, and then it just didn't turn into that. It turned into upstate New York, where 38 Special is from, against New York City. And now other people are getting involved, and Jadakiss artists that used to work with him, I won't say his artists, people who used to work with him is involved. People from Rochester, where 38 Special is from, they're involved and they're doing freestyles. So this one thing, comment that Sin is asking me about, one person saying that his verse is better than somebody else's verse, then turned into this thing snowballing into like a 2-month thing now. And it doesn't seem like it's over. At least from the people from Rochester or other people that's cool with Kiss. I haven't heard anything from 38 Special, and outside that rhyme that Kiss did with Fat Joe, I haven't heard anything else outside of that either. But that definitely sparked up some stuff. Now to answer Sin's question, would I care about what?
Would you care if you did a track with somebody and they said they verse was better than yours?
If they said it?
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't care. A lot of people say that, or I won't even say that. It's people who like other people's verse better than my verse or whatever, but it's all opinionated.
Now this is where Camron says something most rappers would probably never openly admit. A lot of artists' egos wouldn't allow them to answer that kind of question honestly, since the instinctive reaction is usually to defend yourself first. Cam approaches it from a completely different angle, separating personal opinion from any kind of objective fact. There's no official scoreboard that definitively decides who delivered the stronger verse, and fans naturally interpret music differently depending on who they were already rooting for going in. That's really why these kinds of rap debates rarely reach a clean resolution, since most people listen through the lens of bias first and the actual lyrics come second.
Like, you can, it's not a computer doing votes It's not a count. It's your opinion. You can't get mad at somebody's opinion. You know what I'm saying? What I would do is, like for me, when somebody may say somebody had another verse better than me or whatever the case is, I'll sit there and be like, okay, let's do their verse and let's do my verse. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people who say, because you know what it is as well, for me, I'm just telling me, and I can't argue if somebody has a better verse than me or not. It is what it is. You know, I've been blessed to do some records with some really dope artists and legendary artists and so on and so forth. And sometimes people don't even listen to what the other person says. They're more excited for their artists and nobody's better than them and nobody could compete with them and so on and so forth. And whenever I'm not gonna argue it, but we ever sit down and have a conversation, I'll just say, all right, let's break down my verse.
This is really how genuine lyric debates should play out. Notice that Camron doesn't default to claiming automatic superiority. He instead suggests actually breaking down the verses themselves, which shifts the entire conversation into something much more substantive. Anyone can shout that their favorite artist came out on top, but once the discussion moves into punchlines, wordplay, storytelling, rhyme schemes, and delivery, that's really where casual listeners get separated from people who genuinely study the craft of rap. The issue with a lot of debates today is that they rarely make it that far, usually stalling out at the popularity level instead.
There's mad people will say, try to think of a song. Let's just use like New York City with Jay-Z, right? Like Hov Smoke Care. That nigga killed Kim on there. You may like Jay verse better than mine. I'm not arguing that. Smoke Care? Not in that song. That's my opinion. You know what I'm saying? And if they say I'm bugging, what I'm gonna do? Fight them? I'm bugging. Okay, cool. Hov smoke me. I don't know what to tell you. Whatever you want to say.
This is really how genuine lyric debates should play out. Notice that Camron doesn't default to claiming automatic superiority. He instead suggests actually breaking down the verses themselves, which shifts the entire conversation into something much more substantive. Anyone can shout that their favorite artist came out on top, but once the discussion moves into punchlines, wordplay, storytelling, rhyme schemes, and delivery, that's really where casual listeners get separated from people who genuinely study the craft of rap. The issue with a lot of debates today is that they rarely make it that far, usually stalling out at the popularity level instead.
Same thing like with Prodigy, you know what I'm saying? R.I.P. Prodigy, when I did, that nigga Prodigy killed Cam on there. And he killed the hook too. That nigga killed Cam, and I actually wrote the hook, nigga, so you like it, huh? I wrote the hook.
You like that?
Yeah, because Prodigy said it. Nah, it's more sinister with P.
There's another lesson quietly tucked into this whole story. Camron dropped a detail that producers and songwriters immediately recognized the significance of, revealing that he actually wrote the hook. Most casual listeners tend to only remember who performed a song, not necessarily who wrote it, and that's really how the music industry often operates behind the scenes. Sometimes the biggest contribution isn't the one that gets the loudest public credit. The audience remembers the voice and face they hear, while the actual writer often gets compensated quietly and moves on without much fanfare.
Yeah, Bandana P said it's a little different. And shout out to Prodigy, that's why I wanted him to say it, because I knew people would have that reaction, like, if P say this hook, it's crazy, but I wrote it. And I'm not arguing.
R.I.P. Word.
Yeah, P my nigga, I love P. I always shout P out my gram, so I'm not arguing my verse was better than his or not better than his. I'm just telling you, niggas don't even want to hear it. Then when you start making sense about shit, they still don't want to hear it. It's the real I don't want to make sense. So no, to answer your question, I gave a little more detail behind it, but no, I'm not mad if somebody says their verse is better than mine. How am I fight somebody's opinion? It's an opinion.
This might genuinely be the biggest takeaway from this entire conversation. Cam keeps steering everything back to one central point, that music is ultimately subjective. That's a concept social media seems to have largely forgotten in recent years, with people arguing as though there's some definitive, objective answer to whose verse was better. Sometimes there simply isn't one. One listener might value clever punchlines above everything else. Another might prioritize storytelling, while someone else may just connect more with a particular rapper's voice or delivery. The fact that people still can't reach a consensus is actually proof that both artists succeeded in making people genuinely care. And in today's music industry, that kind of attention has become one of the most valuable currencies there is.
We on the block, you know that shit could go on fire. Fuck out of here, you heard it? Nigga, fuck, Jay said he right with the hand that don't write. Now, if I'm outside arguing, that's what niggas do. But if you sit down being logical, no, I can't argue with nigga. You know what I mean? I can't. You got niggas that be like, nigga P said he was at the Carbon, nigga. Fuck you talking. My kid wasn't at the Carbon. You know what I'm saying? Fuck you talking about. Nah, nigga, Killer said, but you gotta understand, Kim said, if you can't get paid in the earth this big, you worthless, kid. Nigga, don't just, nigga, yeah, you got, what you gonna do? You can't argue, man. So it's just niggas' opinion. But no, to answer your question, if I'm outside on the block having fun with it, cool, but overall, no.
One thing Camron explained particularly well is how a simple conversation about bars managed to snowball into an entire regional debate. That's honestly something New York hip-hop has always done well, where a single opinion can spiral into people defending their city, their crew, and their favorite artist all at once. The good news here is that this particular battle has largely stayed within the lyrical lane, giving fans new freestyles, new records, and genuine conversations about the craft of rap, rather than headlines centered around violence. So let me ask you all directly, who do you think actually delivered the stronger verse, Jadakiss or 38 Spesh? And do you feel like this whole situation is genuinely bringing real competition back into New York hip-hop?